Hi everyone. It seems like there's 38 of us here. Should we start now or are we still waiting?
Okay, we'll just start now.
Start now.
Please. Start now.
Please start now.
Yes, we are starting.
Okay, because it's recorded, right? So I'll get the recording and upload on my channel later if they are missing anything. All right,
thank you.
Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon, teachers. Let's start our workshop today with Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah. So without further ado, I would like to invite Puan Nur Atika to continue our workshop session today. Please welcome.
Right. Thank you, Panora. Hi everyone. And good evening. So that we can actually be prepared for this session. It's in the evening, so I hope that we can be attentive because I'm going to focus on part 3 for writing, and then we are going to move on to listening and speaking right after. Okay, so but before I start, I need to tell you that if you actually read the booklet, the scripts or the samples given, they're not exactly based on all perhaps the example of marks that the students would get. They didn't cover all, because when I noticed that some genre, for instance, story, story, the samples given, they are either very good or not so good. So when I really look at the booklet, it's only like 2 or 3 scripts of story. So I think that if we need to know like in detail of how they actually mark, because this is just a guideline. So if we need to know in detail how they actually mark the whole essay, I think we need to wait until the real SPM comes along, because from the booklet, it's not exactly reflecting the majority or the masses of the schools that we have in Malaysia. So it's basically based on a pilot school, right? So it's depending on the students that they have. So if you're saying that I'm not presenting enough, please refer to your booklet so that you know the samples that I took is exactly based on the numbers of samples that the LPM provided us in the booklet, right? Okay, so I'm just going to continue with the presentation that we had yesterday. So since that we did articles quite late in the evening, I think that we can have a little bit of repeat of that in a bit. Okay, so we are starting with part 3 already. Okay, so normally, so based on the exercise books that we have in the market right now, or even the modules built by other schools, part 3 would normally start with article, a review, and a story. But like I've mentioned yesterday, there are a few other genre that it hasn't been touched by part 3 so far in other places. In fact, we are all following the same layout. But to make sure that your students at an advantage, make sure that you teach all the genre. That is self-explanatory, I think. So those genre that are not mentioned here, they are report and also formal letter. Those can be found in the textbook. And please teachers, when you are teaching your students, especially you're teaching your SPM students, follow religiously the textbook. Whatever format that they have shown in the textbook, please follow exactly what the textbook teaches you, as well as the SKP and syllabus. Okay, all right. So for the articles, they already give you the title there, My School Canteen. So again, for articles, you need to have a title. Okay. So the prompts that they want is, what other types of food would you like to be served, and what special facilities should your canteen have, and how can you improve your canteen? So these are the 3 prompts that if the students fulfill all, they will get a 5. Okay, no matter what kind of language, what kind of language that they have. What I meant, what kind of language, is that some students have quite good language, some has quite loose control of the language. So if they actually answered all these three, they can get the content marks of 5. Okay, so write as an article. Article is a genre. So a genre needs to be followed based on the format or the structure that has been shown in the textbook. Answering these questions, the best article will be displayed on the school magazine. Okay. Right, so this is just a repetition of yesterday's session. So this is a content of 5 because it answers all the 3 prompts there. Okay, what other types of food? Okay, the mention of food here is that school canteen should serve a well-balanced meal for students. And then it's mentioned about, secondly, the school canteen should have separated sections. And the lastly, canteen can improve by providing meals in trays. So these students managed to talk about all the 3 things that the question required. Okay, as for the communicative achievement is more on the tone, on the appropriateness of the genre. Okay, so in this case, this student get a 5, okay, because she managed to use phrases or sentences like, the school canteen is an important part of the school. The recognition of the importance of the canteen itself is showing how mature this writer is in showing the right tone for the genre of article in this question. Okay, and then the school canteen should serve a well-balanced meal for the students. Again, a very good and appropriate way of telling how important well-balanced diet for students in the canteen. As for organization, it's also 5. Okay, as you can see there, the school canteen is visited every school day. Okay, so it's shown the organization of the writing. Okay, the first thing is, as you can see there, she uses, firstly, I would like to start with the food. And then junk food is not healthy and shouldn't be eaten for 5 consecutive days, because she talked about junk food in the previous sentence in this specific paragraph. Hence, it shows such great flow, hence very good organization of the essay. And lastly, again, the use of the canteen, and also for the language, because she uses appropriate vocabulary based on the topic, which is school canteen, and to improve them. So the word upgrade is credited there. Importance, providing, containers. Again, we're talking about canteen, so containers is quite synonymous when we talk about canteen. Okay, so that's how this student get a 5 for all of the aspects of the writing there: content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. Okay, right. We move on to this script that we have quite a bit of a question that yesterday. Right. So for the content 1 here is that, from what I understand from the booklet, is that the content is actually this candidate is talking about having many types of drinks. Okay, having many types of drinks. So when the candidate talk about having many types of drinks, he's actually talking about, okay, how can you improve your canteen? Okay, that was the clear-cut content for this candidate. Okay, right. So he or she answered the question. Okay, basically, the way he said that he wanted to upgrade the canteen is that having many types of drinks. So that is the content mark for this particular essay. As for organization, this candidate uses and, okay, and would have. Sorry, would have would be language. Okay, so in total, although this is not exactly a genre of article, because this is basically just 2 sentences, but the candidate managed to get 3/20. Okay, based on the things that he wrote on in answering the question. Okay, right. So, right, I managed to find one, what we say, average script, but it's quite difficult to find in those booklets because everything was just jumbled up. But I managed to find this average 1, okay, the content is 5. Again, getting a full mark for content is something that every student should get. If either if your students are strong ones or even they are weaker ones, content points should be something that everyone can score. Okay, so as long as they manage to answer all the prompts, manage to respond to all the prompts very relevantly, quite clearly, then God willing, they can get 5 marks for content. So that is very important when you are preparing for your student. Okay, and then for communicative achievement here in this student's script, as you can see there, the Cambridge merit this student with 3 marks for CA because of the first phrase there. First thing, we must have a target. Okay, so meaning to say that this candidate understands the importance of writing this article to have a specific aim or specific purpose that he wanted to achieve. So then that means that this article has the right tone to it. Okay, and also I hope you all can use my ideas. It looks simple, but it actually tells you that this candidate understands that he is expecting results out of this article. So it shows an appropriate tone, hence the 3 marks are awarded by Cambridge there. Okay, for organization, only 2 was given. Because of the phrase there, after that, we have to focus to your aim. Okay, like me, I want to buy a pair of shoes. Okay, so that'll be it. And other than that reason, and language is 3. Because of the... Okay, all right, so in the textbook, okay, for article, you need to find title that catches the reader's attention. So that's what the textbook recommends you to do. This is taken from Full Blast. But again, ask your students to look back at the question. Sometimes in the question, they already give you a title. So just exactly follow the title. But if there's no title, for an article, students need to write a title that catches the reader's attention. Okay? Because article is normally, they are not exactly a formal writing per se. They are mostly semi-formal. That's what I got from Cambridge website. Okay, I forgot to mention that for our exam, okay, for SPM CEFR, we are basically highly influenced by B2 FCE certificate exam. So if you can find, later I'll share with you a little bit of resources to help you. It will help your students especially in this time where they can't get direct access to us. They can do this autonomously because this website, they will actually help our student with the correct level of exercises, as well as correct level of text, and as well as correct level of practices. They're not exactly the same like what we have for SPM, because the SPM is following exactly what the KPM wants. But the level of the text is something that you can share with your students if they want to do this independently. Okay? Because we can't exactly rely on books in the market all the time, right? They need other resources to help them as well. Okay? Right, so for this one, asking rhetorical question, okay, for normally in the textbook for article, they would suggest students to ask rhetorical questions right at the beginning of the article. Okay, and after that, remember about the person, the candidate that talks about, I hope you all can get recommendation from this suggestion that I have, meaning to say that is a good way of writing an article. Meaning in the last paragraph, you need to address the reader, any target reader that you are targeting to, and then try to address them personally. Okay, and of course, if this is an article about a place, so when you're talking about how good a place is, you need to use adjectives. Yeah, you need to use adjectives. So those are the things that you could find in the textbook, and I think you need to highlight when you're teaching your students articles. Okay. All right, we are moving on to reviews now. Okay, then again, I have to give a little bit of a disclaimer. In the booklet that is provided to us, the samples for reviews, they are not that much. I think I know why, because not many students exactly had the skills to write a very good review or even try to attempt to write a good review, because nowadays people rarely read reviews. They normally watch the reviews on YouTube or other platforms that they may have. Okay, so I think perhaps that's why that not many of the students would choose this type of question. But reviews can be a gold mine if your students are very familiar with the format or the structure or even the vocabulary in writing a review, especially film review. Okay, so in this case, talking about, have you watched any interesting movies lately? Send us your movie review. Okay, say what you enjoy about the movie. Would you recommend the movie to your friends and why? The best reviews will be published in our newsletter. Okay, this is how normally it would look like for review question, movie review or film review question. Okay, it's normally in magazine. So again, consider who your audience will be. How about your tone, your style, whether it's formal or informal? What kind of tenses are you using for magazine? Okay, and we are talking about movie review. That is a type of genre. Okay, how about the adjectives that might be specific to movie review? It could be amusing or cliched or funny, etc. Okay, and say what you enjoyed, meaning is it the characteristics, is it the character development, or is it the plot development, or is there some highlights that speak to you as a person? Okay, and okay, so again, when you say what you enjoy, you have to use vocabulary to help you describe perhaps parts in a movie, like beginning, climax, ending, and also elements in a movie such as narrative, cinematography, etc. Okay, so when you're teaching film review, perhaps expose your students to all this type of vocabulary first, and then bring them a text or perhaps the genuine or authentic film review to be read by the students, so that they will feel that they are in the same page as you. Because I think that for students who are not really exposed to this kind of language, it is quite tricky to teach them film review. So I think it's best for you to teach them a word level first, this vocabulary, appropriate vocabulary for writing a film review, and then bring them to the process of writing film review itself. Okay. And then would you recommend? So what kind of language that would you use if you say that you are recommending a movie to your friends? Okay, that should do it. So the grammar structure would be, I would highly recommend, or it is well worth seeing, or it's a boring movie, because not all film review, they are good, right? They could be bad as well. So it is up to your students' creativity to decide which side they are going to choose. But again, as a teacher, you can expose them to all these expressions first before teaching them how to write film review. Okay. Okay. So this is an example of quite a good sample. Not quite good, quite a perfect sample. Okay. So the content is 5, right? So I'm just going to quickly read the whole script. Okay. On the 24th of May 2018, the third installment of the Avengers series was finally released globally. Okay, the movie was titled Avengers. So this film review is about Avengers. Okay, so as you can see there, this student in the first paragraph, he managed to briefly and succinctly tell us what the story is about without having to drag us around to the whole story. As you can see there, he or she mentioned it follows a group of superheroes, and then Thanos, who is the antagonist. Again, the use of the word antagonist there. And I had this chance to see it, and this is my review. Okay, so in the first paragraph, perhaps advise your students to have a little bit of introduction of what they are. Right. In the textbook, they would ask you to write about the cast, perhaps the cast of the movie, or the directors or the producers of the movie. But if you don't know that, because nobody really remembers the name of the cast and directors and whoever that is behind the scene, you can always write about a short synopsis here, short but succinct synopsis here, to sort of introduce your reader of what you're trying to say now. Okay? Right, so for the next paragraph, this, okay, so for the communicative achievement, this candidate gets a 5. Okay, the phrases that's been used is the movie's action scenes are quite consistent throughout. Okay, so it's showing how the progress of the movie is quite consistent. Very appropriate phrase. And then there are also scenes on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, the first paragraph, this candidate is talking about introduction. The third paragraph, the candidate is already talking about the highlights of the movie. Okay. Right. And then being said, you are then giggling. Okay. So the use of antagonist there, Thanos, who is the antagonist, and the ending was the best moment of the movie. Okay. So it's quite suitable. All the phrases, all the sentences, even all the vocabularies used here is very suitable and appropriate and contribute to the right tone of the text of the film review. Okay, and then in conclusion, I rate the movie out of 10. Again, this is such a common expression for film review. Okay, so if you can expose your students to that kind of expressions, that will be very, very helpful. Okay, so we have organization as 5. Okay, as you can see there, the candidate uses the movie starts out directly after the events. Okay. And then it managed to refer to the first bit of the movie by accurately saying that the first bit of the movie left me something. And then there is the action. Very simple, but it's successfully referred to the action part of the movie. And as you can see there, the language there is quite perfect. Okay, it's quite flawless. As you can see there, the use of the word installment, the vocabulary used, the use of word of collaborating, the use of word like casualties, because this is a war movie, so this is very befitting to the language used. Also a franchise, because Avengers is part of a franchise. This is a very good level of vocabulary. And the use of the vicious. Okay. And when we are talking about sentences or what we call expressions, the Cambridge give this specific expression as a merit because it really shows the realness of the film review about Avengers. So this scene was one of the most dramatic battle, and overall the ending was truly shocking and unexpected. Okay, so for this kind of script, this student can get 5 for all the elements that's there. Content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. Okay. Okay, so this one is another example of a review, a film review. Okay, content is 5, all being fulfilled by the student. However, the communicative achievement is 1. Okay. All right, let's look at the script together because this is quite short. This is shorter than the previous one. Right. Lately, I've been watched a movie at the cinema. I'm so excited for it because the music is very popular on World. The title of the movie is The Jungle Book. Okay, I like this movie because of one little kid with the lion become to be a king of the jungle. Unfortunately, the kid was 7 years old and was very young to be a king. After that, the movie showed us about the jungle life and I very enjoyed it at all. Okay, the movie, it was great edited at all. People on that cinema was very touched at the movie. At loving at all. The movie of The Jungle Book is more to fantasy and action film. So very lots of people shocked for that. Between this young kid and lion is a bond, always protect the young kid. Wherever the young kid must have a lion, follow it. They are also like a family and take care for each other. That was a great movie that I watched it. I hope that you also enjoyed the movie. I specifically chose this script because in hopes that perhaps any of your students might write this kind of sample. So for this kind of sample, the CA is 1 and it is given for yes, Puan Faraliza.
Yeah, sorry, madam. Just wondering, if I were to give this candidate not a 1, can I just give a 2? because I think 1 is like too low for me. This is considered as quite okay for communication achievement, because you did mention that communication achievement is based on the tone. So why did you give this candidate 1? Yeah, can I know why? Okay, what happens if I plan to give a 2? Will it be too big margin if I were to give this candidate a 2?
Okay, is Puan Azhar here? Is she here today? Puan Razah? Oh, she's not answering. Okay, because,
yeah, I'm here.
okay.
Just having trouble with my line. Sekejap.
Okay.
What is the question again?
The teacher wanted to give 2
A
for
2.
this script for CA.
Yeah, because I will never, this is my point of view lah. For me, if a student can actually get 5, which answers all the requirements from the question, then giving a 1 would be too low lah. This is my point of view. So what makes you give this candidate a 1? And what happens if I wish to give this candidate a 2? Will that be considered as too high?
Actually, from what my JUK told us, it's actually based on the teachers, the markers impression juga sebenarnya. If we feel that we want to give them 2, mesti ada, you have to write the justification why. But for CA,
I need to know. Yeah, I need to know why did this candidate awarded with only
and
1?
then,
Why?
You can refer to the marking scale. This is part 3. Okay. Whereas for content, it will not have any problem, because for part 1, part 2, and part 3, for content it's all the same for band 5, band 1 and band 5. But for CA, just look again at the description. The descriptor for part 3. This is part 3, right? For 1.
Yeah, because
For
I'm
1,
trying to put my students. I'm trying to put my students.
For band 1, part 3, share the same features as band 5 in part 1 and part 2. So at this point, for CA, organization and language, we must put higher expectation from the student for part 3.
I see. Okay, noted.
Okay.
Right.
So that's why you must study the descriptors very well. Okay.
Yeah.
And
okay. Thank you.
compare it. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, I saw quite a few quite a few of hands being raised. May I know the next one, because the queue is quite long. Can I have the next question, please? Any questions? All right, so if there's no questions, I'm going to go through the marking, the scoring of it a little bit more. Okay, for the CA is as you can see that it's been awarded as 1. The phrases that's been given that has been awarded by this one is lately I've been watched a movie at cinema. Okay, so again the tone is loosely answered there, and I'm so excited for it. And then I like this movie because of One Little Kid with a Lion, and enjoyed it all. So even though that there are 3 phrases, or even three phrases that 3 sentences that the Cambridge think that might contribute to this candidate's appropriateness of the tone of the film review, they only gave this candidate 1, again because part 3 is the highest level of proficiency that we expect from students. So because the expressions being used here is quite simplistic, although it follows the tone, the right tone, the Cambridge only awarded this candidate 1. Okay, as for organization, it is 0. Okay, although the candidate used, unfortunately, the kid was 7. Okay, we understand that he is trying to talk about Mowgli, about the Jungle Book's protagonist. But again, it's quite it's quite feeble. The reference is quite feeble. The kid is quite ambiguous. So it's there. So the Cambridge will give this candidate 2. And after that, the movie show is about, again, it refers to the movie of Jungle Book, but in a very what we call vague and ambiguous way. Okay, so very lots of people shocked for that. Again, the use of so is being counted. So as for this is for part 3, as we mentioned by Puan Azhar just now, the level just got higher. So the organization is only 2. Right, so for the language mark here, it's been awarded as 2. Okay, although all the uses of appropriate vocabulary like cinema, the title, fantasy, action. Okay, so this candidate is being credited for all this vocabulary being used. However, we cannot ignore the fact that there are errors, quite serious errors in this sample too. Okay, for example, the movie, it was great edited at all. Perhaps it was great editing, but it kind of impairs the meaning of the sentence altogether. I'm very enjoyed it at all. Meaning comes through, but the sentence is quite clumsy. And another one is wherever the young kid must have a lion follow it. We understand what this person is trying to say. So, but again, the language is quite clumsy and it's quite what we call quite clumsy, the structure. Okay, so they are also like a family. Okay, another question. Right, Mr. Bahasa, okay.
It's Hanafi. Hanafi. Okay, so my question is, what if, let's put it that way, so student answer this review, but the candidates just make up a movie out of thin air, something that has never been published or been watched. Sometimes kids can be quite, because they just want to answer this question, but they don't know how. For example, I think for this sample we given here, I think it's a very confusing one. The Jungle Book, and it's confused with the Lion King in here because there's a lion in this one. So how do we judge that kind of answer?
Okay, I'm just going to direct this to Puan Noraza because this is quite technical. Puan Noraza, is it okay if they just
okay. That's why like the CA is only one, because they macam it's not really connected kan. The first one he mentioned about Jungle Book and then King of Jungle lah kan. And then actually for movie reviews, book reviews, we expect the student must give the real title or the real movie and real books. But if they just create it, but we as teachers, as examiners, we must try hard to whether we Google it, is the title is this or not. If we are confirm that the student just create it, we just mark them as usual. But for CA, we just lower it down the mark. Okay, for CA, and the rest just mark it as usual. Okay, for content, for O, for L, but for CA, don't give full marks. That's all.
So what if the movie is created out of thin air? So how am I going to mark for the content? Because okay, for example, just now we gave
you don't give 0 for content.
I know.
Because they are maybe you give 4 or 3.
So how do I judge that? When for example, just now we have the previous example, what I call the Thanos one, Avengers. So we know the story. Most of us watched the movie itself, so we know the story that was good. So we know that these students really watched the movie and they actually understand the movie very well. But for example, if the movie is created out of thin air, so how are we going to give content for that? Because that thing is never been published or never been. No one ever watched that one. So content-wise, how do we mark that?
I'm trying to look back at the question. If the student really answer the question, we can give mark. It acceptable. It doesn't matter. It's just that in terms of the title je lah yang tak tu. But we don't penalize them too hard just maybe don't full mark lah. As long as maybe they create the movie, something that we never heard before. But if the student answer the next requirement of the question, we mark it as usual. It doesn't matter.
Okay, madam. Just to double check, correct me if I'm wrong. So meaning as long as they answer the requirements, it doesn't matter whether the movie exists or they created it. As long as they meet the requirement, content is fine. But we penalize the
four
CA.
or five lah, four or three. But
meaning we just penalize the CA.
Yes. Well, yes. Just that we don't penalize them with 0 for content because yes, creating the story and the story first, amazing what. Okay, I hope I answer you. Siapa
Yeah. No, Hanafi. It's me, Hanafi.
Oh, okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Azza, can I say something? Okay. So based on my understanding, actually when we mark, C, content, the CA or organization and language does not influence each other, isn't it? We have to follow to the descriptors, isn't it?
Yes.
So my understanding is correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just guys, just study the marking skills. You will find the comparison. Trust me. Just study.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
I hope that clears up. All right, we are moving on to the next one. Right, so this is the format that is being suggested in the full blast. Okay, so they need to have the topic, the title actually, and then like I mentioned just now in the textbook, they suggest students to introduce notable cast or director in the first paragraph. Second paragraph is the brief synopsis of plot, one significant highlight of the movie, what is the best part of the movie, and what makes the movie stood out, what's so special about it. Is it the visuals? Is it the character development? Okay, it could be a lot of things, and perhaps lessons on the third paragraph. And the final verdict, meaning will you recommend this to a friend? How would you rate this movie? And a brief recommendation to the reader. Okay. So besides film review, we do have what we call destination or place review as well, and this is found in English download textbook. Okay, so it's not just film. It could be like Panaza mentioned just now. It could be book, or it could be a place or destination review. Okay, so this is the question that is found in the textbook. Okay, we want reviews of holidays designed for teenagers. Your review should include information about the place, the food, and what activities there are. So to get a 5, the candidate needs to address about the place of the place of interest, the food there, and also the activities that they can do there. Okay, and again, because it's a review, would you recommend this holiday to other people of your age? And the best reviews will be published in our magazine. Okay, again, magazine. The tone, is it casual, semi-formal, or is it formal? So get that tone right, and then you can start teaching your student. Okay, so this is designed for teenagers, and also the place, the food, and activities there. Okay. Right. So this is what I found in the English download textbook. Okay, so they mentioned the place there in the second paragraph, the food in the third paragraph, and activities in the third paragraph. Okay, the recommendation is right in the end, in the last paragraph. Okay, so I'm moving on to the story now, because this is quite popular amongst our students. They seem to like to write story a lot, and I think Cambridge examiners, they really enjoy, they really look up to people who actually write stories, because they think that with stories, students can get really imaginative, and they are taking special interest in students who write a story. Okay, so a dream comes true. You need to. So this is the title of the story, and then in the story, it needs to have a description of the dream and how the dream is achieved. Okay, so this is the title of the story. Okay, so I'm moving on to, because again in the booklet it's very difficult to find scripts that represents the whole population of our Malaysian students. So this is what I found that I think could be useful. Okay, so in this case the content, this person get only 2. Okay, let's read the story together. Okay, Assalamualaikum. Okay, this already sounds like a speech already. Assalamualaikum. Today I want to share about a dream come truth. Suddenly when you dream, something will have reality. Dreaming something can get you happy and reality, because when we dreaming something and exactly that reality is beside to our eyes. Okay. Number 2, when we hope something in dreaming, we can get some in dreaming. And then sometimes I dream and hoping we'll get A+ in SPM 2019. When we dreaming something one day, the dreamings will become true. Nobody know about dreaming will become truth. I always dreaming when I sleep, wake up, sitting, whatever I always think. My dreaming for one day. It's not problems to dreaming and hoping for something you want to have. For one day dreaming, just you're hoping to have become happy or something that can get you better before that. Okay, so even with this type of writing, the Cambridge give this candidate a 2 solely because based on the booklet, the phrase that is allowing this candidate to get a 2 is actually when he talks about, I dream and hoping we'll get A+ in SPM 2019. Although the whole idea in this writing is quite vague and it's not clear what kind of dream, because sometimes he even sounds like he's talking about you're dreaming when you're sleeping. But because of that one specific thing that he talks about getting an A+ in SPM 2019, he got a 2 for content. Okay. However, the tone is only 1 because again, like I've mentioned previously, is the whole expressions, even the way that this candidate talks about his dream is way off from the need of the question. The question is talking about chasing your ambition, chasing your goal. But this candidate, the way that he explains about his dreams is sometimes becoming drifted from what the concept that the Cambridge has in mind when they design the question. Okay, so because of the tone is not right, again, Assalamualaikum at first, so even I as a marker would think that this is a speech. Okay, so again, the tone is 1, the communicative achievement is 1. Okay, so it's given based on suddenly when you dream. Sometimes I dream and hoping. Okay, because again, kenalah sikit-sikit, like just a little bit there that matches whatever the question asks for. Okay, I always dreaming when I sleep. Okay, so however, because of the organization is not there, so they manage, it's there, but it's quite faint, so it's been given as 1, and that is because of the phrase, because when we dreaming and hoping. Okay, however, although they are being awarded 1 for organization, the language is 0. As we learned in part 2, we can give 1 because of the use of because and then and hope and etc. All those simple conjunctions. But in part 3, because they are repetitive and it's not really what we call efficient or what we call effective in communicating the ideas. So the language is being given as 0 for this one. Okay, and also the errors lah. I always think my dreaming for one day, etc. Okay. Okay, so this is another script of about the story. Okay, the content is 5. Okay. Right. The CA is 2 because the use of the phrases like "I was exciting," although it's wrong, it was supposed to be "I was excited," but it has the what we call the hint of tone of telling a story. I was excited. Okay, so that is a kind of expression that is telling this candidate is understands that this is a story, and that is the expression that helps to portray it. Okay, grand prize was amazing. I feel challenged because there are many again. This this expression gives them a sense of the right tone in telling a story. Okay, for organization, it's true. Okay, the use of because of that. But after that, I worked very hard until I'm done. 1 month had passed. Okay. As for the language, given the structures is quite haphazard, it is being awarded because of the vocabulary like novel, participate, challenge, kill my time, support me behind. And also, not just because of that, there are also errors that we need to consider when we give a language marks. My parent always reminds they didn't allow it. It will disturbing, and the competition still doesn't kill my time. I had dream weird. The teachers call the participates. Okay, so that's how the Cambridge score the story. Okay, for part 3. Any questions so far? Okay. Right, I think that I can move on to the next slide. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick input. I know that you already know all this because you've been teaching for so long already. But again, when you're writing a strong story, you need to have, okay. All right, we've got, okay, hi.
Okay, so it's me again.
It's okay.
Okay, I always wondering this. So in the candidate's answer, how long is considered as too long? Let's say, for example, part 1, which is stated that it should be about 80 words. So most students will struggle to stick to that within the 80 words. So how long is considered as too long? And if the answer is too long, will it be penalized?
Okay. Is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. All right. When it comes to word count, I think I can answer this one. For CFR, as long as the rule of thumb is, as long as the student did not exceed the space given provided for them in the exam, in the answer sheet, doesn't matter how many words that they exceeded them, as long as they did not go beyond the space given, then your students are safe. Okay, but then again, I always advise my students not to go really long because one, you have 3 essays to think of, right? Compared to the previous SPM, we have 3 essays that we need to think of. And perhaps if it's one is considered too long, when your answer sheet needs to be added, meaning that you need to have extra paper. Okay, right. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Sir Hanafi.
Yes, it's answered my question. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, any other questions before I move on to the quick tips on teaching your students story? Okay, no? All right. Okay, so this is just like a refresher's course. I know you all have your repertoire ready already, but this is something that I always teach my student. Okay, believe it or not, story is not something that what we call a strong point for Sakti, because they are all science stream students. It's very difficult to get them imaginative, so they need like a specific structure in order for them to write appropriate kind of story. Okay, so what I did with them is that they need to know that if their story follows a complete plot and also tenses, make sure that they believe in and also know how to be consistent in their tenses. For example, past simple, when to use past simple, when to use past continuous, when to use past perfect. And sometimes in direct speech, it's not even past tense. So they need to know where and when to use what tense. Okay, and consistency, right? And then after that, show, don't tell sentences. Okay, so this is the plot triangle that we normally use. Okay, for exposition, we have setting, time, place, society, and then we introduce characters, and then we have conflict between characters emerging, and then the climax is most dramatic point, conflict and tension intensifies, turning point, falling action, and resolution. I mean, for students with such great command of a language, I wouldn't actually force this on them, because they can do time jumps, or they can do flashbacks, or then they can also do time loops when they are writing story. But for the ones that need assistance, I would always ask them to follow this if they decided to write story. Because again, because based on the three choices of the questions that's given there, either an article or film review or a story. Story is always the safest choice, because they have been doing this since they were in Form 1, or even in when they were in UPSR. So this is quite a popular choice of question, but it could be, it has its drawbacks itself. Okay, so, right, so for show, don't tell, I think you know this already. So for shows and sentences, it mostly try to get your students to, or even the readers, to visualize the whole idea of the scene that they're trying to describe. Okay, but as you can see there, for the show sentences, it's quite long compared to tell sentences. Okay, right. Okay, when you're writing show sentences, you need to create a sense of setting. Use dialogue to show character. If in doubt, always describe action, and use strong details, but don't overdo it. Again, show and tell, show sentences, they are not for each paragraph. They are only reserved for what we call significant event in the story. Okay, something that you need to highlight. So we use show sentences, or even we want to set a setting, perhaps in a place. So show sentences are very appropriate in those evidence or in those examples. Okay, so I'm moving on to report writing. It has not been come up in any of the exercise books yet, and it's not been discussed, in fact, in the booklet, but just a quick, what we call a revision of what report writing is for Cambridge, for CFR. Okay, so this is how it looked like. They need to have heading there, or what we call subtitle. They called it in the textbook. Okay, subheadings. Right, introduction, and then you have limit commercial breaks, and etc. So for CFR report, you need to know that they need to have heading. So for students, if they're struggling in coming up with a heading, perhaps you could ask them to write the paragraph first, and then get them to write the headings after that, the subheadings after that. Okay. So this is also another example of report. So a formal letter, it is come up in the textbook, but it's not in the booklet yet. So I'm assuming it's not going to be in the exam. I don't know. So this is how it looked like in the textbook. Okay, formal greeting, purpose of writing the letter, points, opinions, and reason, examples, and summarize all points and signing off. Okay, those are the expressions that you can use with your students. I'm talking about formal and informal language, because the tone could play a very important role in determining the marks for CA. Okay, the informal tone is for what we call part 1, and part 2 and part 3 is borderline between semi-formal and formal. Okay, right. So I think that's it for writing. Before I move on to listening, any questions? Okay, no questions? Right, I'm just going to, okay, because this is a listening, and I've prepared, like, because in the booklet, they didn't exactly provide us with any audio to begin with. Okay, let's get your quizzes on. Okay, if you can get your quizzes on, and then start joining this lesson. Okay, I'm just going to share the screen now. Okay, if you could just if you could just join the quizzes based on the game code there, that would be great, so that we can do this together interactively, rather than me talking on my own. All right. If you can just get your quizzes on, that'd be great. Okay, we are moving on towards listening now. Okay, so you can just enter based on the code that's provided there. Okay.
Excuse me, can I have the code again? Oh, it's all down there. Okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, for listening, the structure is 4 parts. It's only for 40 minutes, okay? The first structure is dialogues and monologues. As you can see there, for SPM CEFR listening, there are, I think, almost the first 3 parts could have monologues, but for the 4th part is dialogues. Okay, so even the audio might sound like a little bit the same like what we had for PT3. Okay.
Alah, my line saya sangkut lah.
It's fine. I mean, because I've prepared an audio from a workbook because LPM did not provide us with any audio, so perhaps we can get a taste of what our students will be answering during the SPM. It's not going to be a full listening test. Don't worry. It's just a sample of what each part would have. Okay. Right. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay, a few samples of model questions. Okay, I hope that we are all ready. We can start with the first question.
Question 1. You hear a girl talking about her family trip to the amusement park. I visited an amusement park during the last school holiday. The new roller coaster had just been built and I was very keen to try it out. I managed to convince my mother, who was afraid of heights, to ride it with me. My sister decided to join us, but my father declined at the last minute. So we put him in charge of watching our bags and belongings instead.
Okay, let's see the answers for it. Okay. Got quite a few leadings here. Diana is leading now. Right. Let's. The correct answer is the ending, because the moviegoer is talking about how it has such great special effects and soundtracks, but he did want to change the ending. So, right. So we've got 7 of you got it right there. Okay. So this is how the part 1 would sound like. They have different text. But different text to answer different questions. It's not one continuous text. It's just one text for one question. Okay, let's move on to part 2. Okay, we are doing better. All right, so for this question, the correct answer is in secondary school. University is whereby the whole thing just picks up, but it actually started in secondary school. Okay, few regular leaders. Right, so, okay, for part two, compared to part one is all what we call, the text is not continuous, it's one text, one question. But for part two, it's going to be in one long continuous text, and our students had to answer based on the one continuous text. It is a long text. Perhaps you can find it in a lot of other workbooks that we have, exercise books in the market. But yeah, that's how part two should sound like for listening. Okay, all right. So let's move on to the next one. All right, this is quite a tricky question because most of us got it wrong. Okay, right, let's move on to the next one. Right? Okay, we move on to part four, I think. let's move on to the next question. Right? Okay, for because 1, 2, and 3, they are quite similar because it's either dialogue or a monologue. So I think the skills of trying to teach your students in those parts is quite similar. Okay, perhaps let them, perhaps for the first part of the listening, perhaps let them, before even they even listen to the text, let them read the text first, read the questions first, and then when the audio is being played once, they can already try to work out the answer, and it will get better enforced in the second time listening. But for part 4 is I think could be the demise of our students, because again, this is whereby you need to basically write what you heard, right? And then again, this is quite high level of listening, because they need to choose the right word to go with the blanks. Right, so the listening tips for part 4 is that the students can listen and read the instructions to find out who the speaker is and what the situation is. Like I said just now, before they even begin the audio, students will be given time to read the questions first before the audio is being played. Okay. Use the 20-second pause before the recording to read through the summary sheet, look at the gaps, try to remember what you know about the topic, and predict what words could go in the gaps. Okay, during the first listening, students write short answers in the gaps, write down exactly what is said on the recording. Do not change the words. If there are numbers to write, use figures, not words. It is quicker. Right, if it's numbers, do not spell the words. So if it's 11, it's just 1, 1, not E-L-E-V-E-N, so it will take longer time. Okay. When you have filled in a gap quickly, go to the next gap to remind yourself of what you expect to hear. And number 5, during the second listening, check your answers and fill in any gaps that you didn't get in the first listening. Check your spelling. The spelling is very crucial in part 4. You will have to transfer these answers again to the answer sheet at the end of the test. Okay. Okay, for part 1 and 3, okay, students need to listen and read the instruction first. Think about what the situation is, who will be speaking the recording, and what will they be speaking about. Okay, and then they can use the 45-second pause before the recording to read through the questions. Think about the topics that the questions cover. Make some notes about what you know about the topic and about the kind of vocabulary and grammar the speaker will use. Okay, and during the first listening, listen for the overall meaning of the text and choose the best answers for the questions. When you have answered a question, quickly read the next question to remind yourself of the topic. During the second listening, listen for more detail and listen for synonyms and antonyms and ways the questions could be paraphrased. Okay, this one if your students is able. Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm just going to go through with you how it looked like in the sample paper. I'm sure you have seen this already. Okay. So this is the first part, 1 until 7. This is whereby one question, one text. Okay, for part 1. part 2, question 8 until 15. This is one long continuous text for the whole section, or the whole part 2. Okay, part 3 is like part 1, but you have to match who speaks what. Okay, part 3 is a matching activity for listening. And part 4 is where, compared to PT3, this is a bit longer than PT3. So I think this is the part that you need to focus on with our students when it comes to preparing themselves for SPM, because this is quite tricky. Okay. Right. I think we need to give a round of applause to AS. Who is AS? Who is AS?
It's me, Adiba.
Congratulations, Adiba. You've got the first place for this one. You've got all right, I think.
Do I get to claim a prize?
Thank you for joining in. That is an achievement in itself, a reward for yourself in itself. Okay, and number 2, Diana, and number 3 is Nafi. Congratulations. All right, so that would be listening. If there's no question, I'm going to go straight to speaking, if that's okay.
Okay.
Boleh.
Okay. Let me just share the screen first. Okay, we are moving on to speaking. Okay, speaking will be 15 minutes with 2 candidates. The layout is almost like what we have for PT3. It's almost the same. It's just the level of the question is different. Okay, right. So we have part 1, general questions, 3 to 4 minutes. This is more like ice-breaking questions. We are not assessing. We haven't started assessing this part yet. This is just us trying to get the students to loosen up, try to get them feel relaxed and calm to move on to the next part. Okay, so normally we ask ice-breaking questions like what's your name, where are you from, what's your hobby, what do you like to eat, etc. Okay, so this is only just to get your students warmed up. Okay, we have part 2. Part 2 is monologue, meaning that students will there's no interaction. It's just them talking about a topic themselves, but the partner will be asked the question to check their understanding based on what they heard from whatever their partner has been talking about. Okay, so for part 2, candidates will be given a different topic to talk. Candidate A will have 20 seconds of thinking time before they start speaking, and candidate B will have to listen to candidate A carefully, as he or he will have to answer a question based on what candidate A is talking about. Okay, for candidate A, it could be talking about a family celebration. So they have 2 different topics. So when your students are trying to speak, they have to not exactly follow, but if they could answer all the prompts given, that would be very commendable. Okay, what the event was, what you did there, if you enjoyed yourself, why or why not, and why family celebrations are important in Malaysia. And as for candidate B, while candidate A is talking, candidate B will be listening, and after candidate A has finished talking, candidate B will be asked like one simple question to check his or her understanding based on what candidate A has shared. Okay, for candidate B, the process goes like talking about a person you admire, and then they need to follow the prompt, who this person is, what this person looks like, why you admire this person, and if you think it is important for people to have good role models. Okay, and why not. Okay, so then again, this time candidate A will be listening, and she will be asked, for example, do you think that your mother is the person that you admire? For example, if that's something that candidate B has been talking about. So she will say yes or no and why. Okay, just to check on her listening. Right, for part three is discussion with partner. It is between 4 to 5 minutes, all about interacting with your partner, and both candidates will be shown a diagram with a question in the middle and 5 topics connected to it. Both candidates will have 20 seconds of thinking time before they start speaking. 2 to 3 minutes for both candidates to discuss, and 1 minute for both candidates to come to a decision. Okay? So normally it's the topic like this. Right, why do people shop online? Because, you know, perhaps all of these reasons, no crowds, time saving, better places, better prices, and follow the trend, etc. Okay, so again, 2 to 3 minutes for both candidates to discuss. They literally just need to forget that interlocutor is there, and they just between themselves. And 1 minute for them to decide what is the best. For example, in this case, what probably the strongest reason why people shop online these days. Okay, so they need to come up with a decision. Okay, so this is the rubrics for speaking. Okay, for speaking, we have grammar, vocabulary, and communicative competence. Okay, this is what we are looking for in speaking. Okay, so everything is in the booklet. I think that it would be best for you to read it yourself so that you can understand it better. So it's different from writing. Writing is content, CA, organization, and language. But for speaking, it's grammar, vocabulary, and communicative competence. Okay. So let me just look at the grammar first. For 1 mark, the grammar could say that can communicate what he or she is trying to say, sufficient control of simple grammatical structures, and can use connectors to link simple sentences. Okay, for 3, can communicate with reasonable accuracy, show a good degree of control of simple structures, and form longer sentences and link them together. Okay, as for 6, this is the best band for grammar. Maintains high degree of grammatical accuracy. Errors are rare, difficult to spot, and generally corrected when they do occur. Meaning that the student or the candidate can self-correct. Okay, has a good command of wide range of grammatical structures and use wide range of organizational patterns. Right, for vocabulary, can use wide range of appropriate vocabulary and convey specific differences in meaning, thorough, appropriate choice of vocabulary. That would be for band 6 for vocabulary. And for band 1, vocabulary is that use sufficient vocabulary to talk about everyday situations and familiar topics, and mostly convey meaning but may use inappropriate vocabulary, some repetition. Okay, communicative competence means to say that grammar and vocabulary, we know what we are looking for, but communicative competence means does the candidate has such effective communication skills. Okay, so for band 1, can make him or herself understood but may have pauses and false starts. But for band 6, for communicative competence means that the student can express himself or herself spontaneously with little obvious searching for expressions. Okay, because language comes naturally to them, so that's why they are band 6. Can initiate, maintain, develop, and close a conversation with ease, and can relate contributions skillfully and effectively to those of his or her partner. Okay, so for this one, it's going to be by the assessor. Assessor is the teacher that's sitting at the back, watching over the whole thing. But this is for the interlocutor. The interlocutor will give marks based on overall spoken performance. Okay, so it's the same. It's 0 until 6. Okay. All right. So let's look at a few of the. Let's look at the forms first. Okay, this is how the form will look like. Okay, this is, I think, for interlocutor, and this is for assessor. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is, I think, the best example from the booklet. This is about Alia. Alia is the girl who is not a prefect. Okay, this is the interlocutor. This is the assessor. Okay, so Alia is this, not the librarian, I think. I'm just checking. Can you hear the two girls talking? Cannot hear.
No.
No,
Can
cannot.
hear.
Okay, let me
Sorry,
just
tak dapat
change
dengar.
the setting first. How about now? Can you hear them? Can you hear the audio?
No,
Still
still
no.
no.
Still no,
Good
right?
morning.
Still
I'm
no.
Sarina.
Okay, now can. Yeah.
Elisa. She'll
I
just
can hear it
listen to
now.
us.
Okay.
First of all, we'd like to know something about you. What's your name?
My name is Aminah Khadija Putera Hassan. You can call me Aminah.
Thank you. And what's your name?
My name is Alia Kila, but you can call me Amina.
Thank you. Amina, where do you live?
I live in Sessions Midat, London.
Alia, how do you come to school?
I walk to school every morning.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to ask you about your daily routine. Amina, what do you normally do after you wake up?
Every morning, I wake up and get ready for school. I will take a bath and iron my uniform, and then I'll wait for my bus.
Alia, what do you usually do after coming back from school?
I usually get ready and have lunch, and then have to do my chores.
Amina, how do you spend your leisure time?
There are several activities I do. Sometimes I spend it by watching TV with my family, or I do my homework, or I will spend it watching YouTube videos on my phone.
Alia, what do you do on weekends?
I usually spend my time dividing myself between doing chores and also doing my homework, finishing up.
Thank you. In this part of the test, I'm going to give each of you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it on your own for about a minute. You also need to answer a question briefly about your partner's topic. Amina, it's your turn first. Here's your task. I'd like you to talk about a family celebration you had recently. First, you have some time to think about what you're going to say. All right, you may start now.
The family celebration I just had recently was actually in Barak, which was last May. What I did there was we cooked nasi dagang with the whole family. We talked together, and we also took some pictures. I did enjoy myself there because I love being with my family. And for me, family celebrations are important in Malaysia because family bonds are everything after all. And I think that family need to get to know each other better and get used to each other.
Thank you. Alia, what was the last celebration you had? Did you have a good time? Why?
The last time I had a celebration was actually my birthday, and me and my family had dinner at one of my favorite restaurants. I enjoyed myself because I was able to indulge myself in small chats with the family.
Thank you. Amina, can I have the booklet, please? Now, Alia, here's your task. I'd like you to talk about a person you admire. First, you have some time to think about what you're going to say. All right, you You may start now.
My mother. I think that she is a very responsible and a very hardworking person, and I find that I can rely on myself on her. She knows a lot of things about topics. And I also think it is important for people to have a good role model in order for people to learn and to learn to have better character and ethic growth for themselves to expand into their life.
Thank you. Amina, who do you admire?
The person I admire is actually Kim Namjoon, or also known as RM from the group BTS. I admire him because he has a really good sense of leadership, and I love how caring he is when he taking care of his members, and that inspired me a lot.
Thank you. Nadia, can I have the booklet, please? Online shopping is gaining popularity in our country. Here are some reasons why people shop online and a question for you to discuss. First, we have some time to look at the task. Now, talk to each other about the reasons why people shop online.
Yeah, I will go first. So the first reason why people shop online is because it is a time saver. You don't have to go outside and go to shops or malls. You can just easily sit at your home and pull out your phones. And it's really at the tip of your finger. Besides from that, new crowds is also a big factor in why people shop online. People tend to like to go hassle-free without having to bump into other people, and maybe even lessen the amount of time you have to wait for the public. Yes, I agree with that. Other points I can say is items on online are at better prices. So I think people are attracted to things that are at reasonable price. And other than that, actually, also because online shopping has a wide variety of items, so people can access themselves to different types of things that they want specifically. Another point I'd like to add is it is very convenient because, as I said before, you have to dress up and go out to malls. You just have to stay at your home and pull out your phones, and you just shop anything you want. And lastly, online shopping really helps follow the trend because the website is able to recommend items that are in season.
Thank you. Now we have about a minute to decide together which is the most popular reason people shop online.
In my opinion, the reason why people shop online because it is time saving. Because it is actually important for people who have works in their daily life, and if they're busy, they don't have to go outside to buy the things they want. So it is very time saving for them to just shop on their phones. What do you think about convenience? So I think convenience does play a big impact on people shopping, because with shopping online, you don't have to even step outside of your house. Yes, I actually do agree to that. So I think we both agree that people shop online mainly because of its convenience.
Thank you. Can I have the booklet, please? In what ways does advertising on social media influence people buying behavior?
In my opinion, I think a lot of people find social media as a platform to shop online because platforms like Instagram and Twitter, they often showcase big names like celebrities like Kylie Jenner and everything. And when Kylie Jenner buys a specific product, it helps prompt her audience to be interested in it. Yes, I do agree with that now. But I would add another point. Nowadays, there are a method of advertising called sponsoring. It's where brands such as makeup brand Maybelline, where they sponsored celebrities or endorsers or influencers. And therefore, it can attract their fans and audiences to buy the product that they sponsored.
Thank you, Amina and Alia. That's the end of the speaking test.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the example of Alia's speaking test. As you can see there, she managed to get grammar as 5, vocabulary 6, communicative competence as 6. So the overall spoken performance was given 6, right? So she managed for grammar, she managed to communicate with good degree of accuracy, a good degree of control of range of simple and some complex grammatical structures, and uses a range of cohesive devices. As for vocabulary, Alia managed to use wide range of appropriate vocabulary to convey meaning on a wide range of familiar topics. Okay, so that was Alia's performance on vocabulary. As for communicative competence, Alia, she expresses her ideas clearly, elaborates on her opinion, and displays confidence. When talking about online shopping, she can initiate, maintain, develop, and close a conversation with ease. And as for overall spoken performance, Alia understands questions and instructions directed at her with ease, including those on more complex topics. She maintains and develops the interaction effectively and can produce extended relevant stretches of language. She does not need any prompting. Okay, so from this, this is an example of quite good speaker. As you can see there, right at the end.
Sometimes like in social media, social media influence people.
Okay, now that they are done with the part 2, the teacher furthers on asking them about this question.
In what ways does advertising on social media influence people buying behavior?
Okay, this part is actually very difficult to get to, and it is only done if your students manage to complete part 1 and part 2 well, and way before that it is supposed to be ending. So you can further ask them the next prompt based on the booklet, and it is in the booklet, but it can only be done if your students manage to complete part 1 and part 2 successfully, and you still have time to do so. Okay, all right, that is Alia. Okay, this is another example. We are at 10 past now. Okay, this is another example, Helmi. This student is, I think it represents the majority of the population of Malaysian students. He got 3 for grammar, vocabulary is 4, communicative competence 3, and overall spoken performance 4. Okay, so let's hear what kind of spoken interaction that Helmi has.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Puan Alaulia, and this is my colleague, Puan Nur Shazwani. She'll just listen to us.
Okay.
All right, what's your name?
My name is Mullah Hibisafudin, and you can call me Helmi.
Okay, this is Helmi we're talking
And
about.
what's your name?
My name is Nurain Farhana Alia, but you can just call me Aini.
Thank you. Helmi, where do you live?
I live in the Sapingira Putra.
Okay, and you, Ain, where do you live?
I live in Precinct 8 Putrajaya.
All right. Now I'm going to ask you about your daily routine. I'll start with Helmi. What do you normally do after you wake up?
I read a novel, and I also watch some television show.
Okay. Ain, what do you usually do after coming back from school?
I usually stay at school most of the time, either doing my chores as a librarian or studying.
Okay. Helmi, how do you spend your leisure time?
Okay, I'm just going to skip to part 1.
And I'd like you to talk about it on your own for about a minute. You also need to answer a question briefly about your partner's topic. Hilmi, it's your turn first. Here's your task. I'd like you to talk about a holiday trip you had. First, you have some time to think about what you're going to say. All right, you may start now.
At the last holiday trip, I go with my family. Me and my family went to Perak, going to an amusement park at last month. We go there and playing some games and enjoy some rides like roller coaster, skyfalling, and also water slide. We also buy some merchandise like T-shirt, fresh magnet, and also keychain. And that is the best day of my life.
Okay, thank you. Ain, where would you like to go for a holiday?
I would like to go to Sarawak because I've heard that Sarawak has many historical places and the food there is very delicious.
Thank you. Can I have the booklet, please?
Okay, I'm moving on to part 2 and then try to focus on Helmi and his spoken discourse.
Now, I'd like you to talk about something together for about 3 minutes. The task will have 2 parts. In the first part, you will be discussing something with each other for about 2 minutes. Then, in the second part, you will have another minute to make a decision together. All right? Okay, let's begin with the discussion task. Nowadays, people are aware of the importance of leading a healthy lifestyle. Here are some ways how people can live healthily and a question for you to discuss. First, you have some time to look at the task.
Okay, I'll do these 3. So we have to agree on something. So shall we agree on exercise?
No.
Okay. So exercising is our main point.
Okay. You will start first, okay? All right. Now, talk to each other about the ways to practice a healthy lifestyle.
So in my opinion, I think one of the ways we can practice a healthy lifestyle is by having a balanced diet. Because once we take care of our food intake, we can manage to lead a healthier lifestyle. We also need to drink water to stay hydrated and to make our body feel energized. And how about exercising? So exercising plays a crucial role in our healthy lifestyle because we need to get out the toxins that are inside our body, and by exercising you can do just that. And it can also help manage stress. Care to explain? So if we exercise, we can manage our stress and makes our body more calmer and more energetic at the next day. And we also need to have enough sleep because rest is important. The most that we can sleep is about 8 hours a day, which is enough for us to re-energize our bodies. And we also need to have time to relax and enjoying ourselves and try to do something more and we also need to relax to make ourselves calmer when we're facing through another challenges.
Okay, that was Helmi's discourse. Okay, so as you can see there, the grammar he managed to get a 3, vocabulary 4, and communicative competence is 3. But for the overall, he managed to get a 4. Okay, so compared to Alia just now, although Helmi might sound like he's quite a good speaker, but he, in terms of accuracy, he managed to do a little bit of errors. Okay, to make errors, such as he has good degree of control of simple grammatical structures and attempts. So it's not exactly successful. Okay, and he forms longer sentences and can link them together using basic cohesive devices. As for vocabulary, he can use appropriate vocabulary to carry out the tasks, and he mostly conveys meaning, which uses vocabulary which is inappropriate or struggles to find a word. Okay, like console, when he's talking about video game console, he's not very what we call accurate. Okay, in terms of his vocabulary. As for his communicative competence, he managed to express himself clearly, though there are some hesitation. He maintains and develops discussion with slight difficulty. Okay, Helmi can understand questions and instructions directed at him. Okay, he maintains the interactions by responding to questions and suggestions. Okay, that's Helmi. I'm going to go to at the bottom, what we call bottom level of the students that we have. Okay, this is Farid. Farid, grammar 1, vocabulary 2, communicative competence is 1, and overall spoken performance is 2. Okay, let's hear this Farid.
Good morning. I'm Puan Alawiyah, and this is my colleague, Puan Nur Shazwani. She'll just listen to us. What's your name?
My name is Farid.
Okay, we are talking.
Okay,
We are
and what
looking
about
at
you?
him.
What's your name?
My name is Muhammad Farhad.
All right, thank you. Farid, where do you live?
I live in Putrajaya Persi.
Okay, and Farhan, where do you live?
I live at Bengkel.
Now I'm going to ask you about your daily routine. Farid,
Okay,
what?
I'm just going to speak to part 1.
I just sleep and on at the evening.
Okay. All right, thank you. In this part of the test, I'm going to give each of you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it on your own for about a minute. You also need to answer a question briefly about your partner's topic. Farid, it's your turn first. Here's your task. I'd like you to talk about a family celebration you had recently. First, you have some time to think about what you're going to say. All right?
Okay.
You may start now.
Okay, family celebration. Family celebration event. I think family celebration I can do the event like happy birthday, celebrate the happy birthday. For example, I do the celebrate my sister happy birthday, and when and who were there? Have my brother, have my sister, have my father, my mother, and my sister. Then I sing the song like happy birthday to you, like that. And then I enjoy with myself, because when we celebrate together with our family, we can make a strong relationship between us. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Farhan.
Okay, I'm just going to skip to part 2 and focus on Farid.
Okay? Okay, right. Now, talk to each other, okay, about the reasons why people shop online.
Okay, I start first. Okay, the first reason why people shop online is because it's a better price. greater prices. If we shop online, it's more cheaper than you go to the shopping mall and buy at there. And reason two is time saving. Shop online will make you cut off time. No need to go outside to buy something else. No stuck in the jam. Okay. I agree with your point with the price and time saving. So my point for why people shop online. Okay, why people shop online? Opinion is convenience. Convenient. Sorry, convenient. Okay. Why the convenient? Because when we buy at the shopping online, we easy to take the order, and we can to take a queue. Then we go to the shop at the street. We need to take a queue so long. And then when we shop and why people shop online? Because follow the trend. Because in the shop online, like Shopee, like Zalora, like that, this web always follow the trend, like shirt, shoe. And then the last point the last point is wide variety. If shopping online, you can search all of the thing you want. It's many various of type you want.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Now, thank you.
Okay. As you can see that Farid is very different from Helmi and also Alia. Okay, for grammar, Farid can communicate what he is trying to say despite a lot of hesitation and repetition. So he does produce something and it is counted. All right, he mostly shows sufficient control of simple grammatical structures like I like my sister because my sister good in style, education, and good in sport. Okay, and he also uses basic connectors to link simple structures. Okay, after I wake up, I wash my face. That's it. Okay, and for vocabulary, he uses sufficient vocabulary to talk about everyday situations and familiar topics. Although he can usually convey meaning, he does this by repeating keywords and phrases, meaning that he doesn't have a lot of vocabulary bank. Okay, so he does keep on repeating, and hence, although that's the case, but he managed to use the appropriate vocabulary for celebration, like sing the song, family celebration, strong relationship. Hence, he was awarded with 2. Okay, for communicative competence, okay, he's able to make himself understood despite many false starts and pauses. Okay, he's only able to maintain the conversation at a simple level with his partner, although he attempts to express his views in the discussion. Okay, and he is able to ask for clarification like admire, I not understand what that means, and attempts to interact with his partner in a very limited way. Okay, so overall spoken performance, Farid is able to understand most of the questions and instructions directed at him slowly. Okay, he can provide basic information using short phrases and keywords. All right, I think that's all that I have for speaking. It's already 4:27 now, and based on the tentative, we have a little bit of speech from Puan Suryani. Am I right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Ilya, do you have any question? Okay, so I saw Ilya raise her hand. I'm not sure why.
Oh, sorry. I didn't turn on my microphone. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So actually, I have three questions. So my first question is, what if the pupil give a wrong response? Like just now, the question asked the pupil to talk about family celebration, but he or she talks about a celebration at school. So do we have to just let him or her continue the speaking, or can we stop them and explain again to them of the question? Okay, and then my second question is, what if the pupil don't understand the instruction? Can the teacher rephrase the question? Okay, and my third question is, can you explain a bit what's the difference between this SPM speaking as compared to PT3? Because since now we don't have PT3, so I believe that lower forms teachers also need to understand the differences and also the similarities, so that we can prepare our lower forms pupils for the upcoming SPM. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Puan Nazir, you want to take this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, the role of the interlocutor is very important. If the student didn't answer the requirement, the interlocutor can repeat the question by using the exact question from the interlocutor frames. If the student still cannot answer it, the interlocutor can use the prompts given only, cannot rephrase. Just use the prompts given. Okay. If the student still cannot, just move on with another question. That's all. So for SPM is strictly mentioned that the interlocutor cannot rephrase the questions using his or her own words. The teacher must use the prompts given only in the frames. And then as for the differences between PT3 and SPM, if we notice for PT3, the student has to look at certain pictures, right? If you're not mistaken, it's in part 2 in PT3. Am I correct? And then for SPM, there's no more pictures. They're just prompts given for the student. So for SPM, the level of test is higher, because the student need to understand what the prompts given, the meaning of the prompts given, the word, the phrases. If they can understand the prompts, they definitely can answer the question. And then the last part, which like Atika said, not all students can answer that part. That one is like bonus lah. Okay.
So meaning to say, if they can't answer question 1 and question 2, we don't have to proceed.
Yes.
To the third question. What if there are 2 students there? What if A can do it, but B cannot? So wouldn't it be unfair for A, who can move on to question number 3, or like how to deal with that? You know, because maybe in that situation, one is okay, another one is not.
Okay.
So
Well, firstly, we need to look at the time frame given also, because if still have time and the interlocutor knows that one candidate from the pair actually can answer the next question, why not just ask? It's not the matter of unfair or not, but if we know the student can answer and we don't ask them, it's unfair for the accurate student lah. Yang boleh answer tu tak fair lah kalau kita tak tanya. But we must make sure that the time frame is enough for them to answer.
Alright, meaning to say during the speaking test, right, we can see that one is better than the other.
Yes.
But sometimes because the other takes such a long time to complete the whatever that he's supposed to say, and there goes the time. So how do we deal with this situation? Because we know, given the chance, the other candidate might have better marks, but just that she doesn't have the opportunity to do so. So how to deal?
Okay. The interlocutor will be teachers, English teachers from the school, from the same school. So definitely the teacher knows about their students, right? So if the student cannot answer or weak student, we cannot wait for the exact time frame for that particular student, because we know that he definitely cannot answer the question. So we move on to the next question. So if the student pair with the weaker and better student are paired up, so the time, the extra time, when we can use it for the better student.
Okay.
Don't use too much time on the weaker student, because if we know they cannot answer, if you have used all the prompts given in the interlocutor frames, so there's no point of you repeating the prompts until the weak student can answer. Okay.
All right. A question. Maybe this is out of box. Just wondering, the candidates, are we the one who arrange it, or just follow the akte giliran?
Actually, it's up to the school.
Oh, you mean we can pair them with whoever that may be at the same level?
Yes.
Not necessarily to follow the akte giliran as usual lah. This is confirmed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If you want to more clear about it, you can refer to the instrument, the booklet. Okay.
Alright.
Kat situ dia ada terangkan the how to manage, how to arrange the student. Okay. I hope it answer your question, Kak.
Alright, just to confirm. Alright.
Okay. Welcome.
Right. Any more questions? I saw quite a few of you raised your hands. Any more questions?
Yeah. Hello. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay. Just to double check again. So for the speaking test, because this is like basically online, so when is the deadline for us teachers to submit the marks? That is my question number one. So if the deadline is like before we get to have our face-to-face class, it means that we have to really catch students online. That is my first question. My second question is, does this mean that we teachers are going to use the questions that we set, and we will not be getting any questions from LPM, or are we supposed to create our own sets of questions and that's it? It will be our real script for the students, or is it like, are we expecting any new sets of questions from lembaga, or we have to create our own? Because like I'm sure some other teachers and also my teacher and we are also now creating our own questions. But does that mean whatever that we are doing now, the marks awarded will be the real SPM listening test? Because now I'm sure all teachers, we have to catch our students for the online classes, especially the end classes then. So are we supposed to, like, can you tell us when is the deadline for us to submit the real marks for the speaking marks for the candidates? Is there any deadline?
Kak Farah, do you mean the marks for the real SPM?
Real listening, speaking test.
Actually, the LPM didn't give any new information about this, and don't worry, because the online thingy is just assumption from the JUK and other JUs, and because it depends on the school, when the school will be open.
Correct.
And then after the school open, they will discuss again and have meeting again, and then they will call us lah to have a discussion on this one, and they will brief about this. And don't worry, the question will be all from the LPM. We don't have to You don't have to create the questions, and then the assessor is from the nearby school.
Okay. Okay, meaning that will happen lah. That will definitely happen. So the ones
Yes,
that
yes.
the questions that we are now producing will be just for training. Is that it?
Yeah. Yes, for
So the marks that we are supposed to key in before the certain date, it will not happen yet because everything will be.
There's no date yet, Kak. There's no date yet.
Okay. Right. So now I'm assuming that we are like doing this as a training to our students.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sorry, you were saying just now the assessor is from nearby schools, meaning assessor is not from the school itself?
Yes, only the interlocutor from the school. Yes.
But
let's
she
say,
doesn't say anything, right?
yes, but the assessor from the nearest school, from your school. Let's say my school, Tanjung Pengalih, maybe from the assessor will be from Adela or from Pengerang Utama.
Oh, so Sarjana will be getting from Laksmana or Tun Haba.
Yes, just maybe Laksmana from Tun Haba. Macam itulah.
Fine.
The claim will not be that high. Okay, Kak?
Can I ask one more question? Okay, I am Fatin. I just want to know, can the students jot down notes to prepare themselves before they start speaking? Thank you.
This one I think macam cannot je. Because anything that can distract the candidates cannot be brought into the access room. Is this including the teacher, the interlocutor too?
I think what Fatin meant was like if they can jot down in front of the assessor. I mean, while the process, not they bring it from outside the room, is when they
that one I think can because
they just want to remember the notes and they make it on the spot. I think that should be okay, kan? Good lah.
Yes.
Are you sure can? Because I think for PT3, no, they cannot. If we look at it for PT3, it's like really impromptu speaking.
Maybe we can ask again later when you have the meeting with the SPM.
Yes.
Yeah. For the time being, we assume cannot lah. Okay.
Sorry to ask another question again. This is actually a question from my students. They asked me, can they help each other during the speaking assessment? Because they were told by their BM teacher that in BM they can help each other, you know. So can they help each other, especially when the partner is, groping for words? And will it affect their marks, especially the one who receive help? Will this candidate get a better mark? Thank you.
They can help. They can help before the speaking started.
Oh, okay.
They are given sometimes to think about the ideas, right? They can discuss at that time.
I think this is again related to PT3. Like for PT3 also
Discussion.
it's like that. Yeah, okay. During the time before the speaking start, they can discuss, they can ask the idea from their friend. And same goes with the I don't know for SPM which part, but for
it's the same.
For PT3 it's part 3 also. The teacher cannot help, right? So but the friend can prompt his or her friend to keep on talking, to keep on giving ideas, to respond yes or no.
Yes. Before the real discussion start, they can discuss with each other. Maybe to ask about the words ke, the phrase ke, the meaning ke.
Okay, so in part 3 they can discuss. They can discuss before they are being assessed, right? Okay. Thank you.
So I think that's the end of our session. So Thank you so much, Puan Nur Atika, for the detailed explanation of the new SPM format. And now let's continue with the closing ceremony. I would like to invite Puan Shuliani for her closing speech. Please welcome.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, allow me to share with you, okay, my slide. Okay, can you see? Wait. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Okay. It's thank you for staying with us. Okay. Until the end. It's nearly 5 right now. Okay. I'll try to make this short. Okay. But I timed myself. I think it will take about 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay. First and foremost, allow me to congratulate PSKD BI Menengah Kota Tinggi for having succeeded and organized such an effective program. You agree with me that it is effective, right? Okay, I hope we'll have many more programs like this in the near future. The rest of you, thank you very much for having spared the time to attend this program. I know that all of you are quite busy with PDPR and co-academic activities. I hope that those who missed today's and yesterday's sessions will take the initiative to watch the recorded sessions that PSKD will share the link in Telegram group. Okay, I have shared this slide the day before yesterday, okay, with the KPs, but I want to address this again today as upper form English teachers are here with us. Allow me to personally wish congratulations to all of you for having achieved such good results in SPM 2020. PPD Kota Tinggi, the students of Kota Tinggi, specifically SPM candidates last year, and I owe it to all of you for this success. I know you have been working hard against the unforeseen circumstances caused by the pandemic, but most of you did not allow your spirits to be dampened. You did not give up. You persevered against all odds to overcome all adversities and obstacles to finally emerge as winner. All right, now let's take a look at what we have achieved. Okay, this is your GPMP. Okay, percentage, and this is where we place in the whole of Johor State. Okay, we used to be bottom 3, but now we have moved up to top 5. When we were at the bottom, we have nowhere to go but upward. But now we are almost at the top. Our challenges are greater. We have to maintain our performance and improve ourselves. We deserve all the right to be proud of the achievement that we have earned through grit and perspiration, but we cannot be contented for too long or be complacent with what we have achieved so far. Maintaining a success is much harder than achieving one. Right, okay, so I hope that we'll stay at number 5 or even go upward. Yeah. Right. The ranking actually does not matter much. It's the comparison between how you perform this year and the next year. Yeah. Okay, this slide shows each school's performance in SPM 2020. I'm not going to discuss in detail, but I hope you do reflect upon yourself. Not so much about comparison to other schools, but comparisons of your own results between 2019 and 2020. Do you get better or worse? And do contemplate on what you want to achieve in 2021. And the most important thing is to find interventions on how to improve the state you are in. I hope the workshop had helped you towards improving your teaching, especially in preparing the SPM candidates. As Form 5 teachers, you are allowed to be exam-oriented. But if a lesson can be made more fun as well as effective, why not combine 21st century teaching in your lessons? Some of you might be at your ends with trying to figure out how to go about preparing your students for SPM this year. I am sure you had learned a lot from this session. Okay, these are the programs again that have been arranged by PPD You look at number 1, Bengkel Pembinaan Item Sejajar, CEFR Menengah Atas oleh PPMP BI had been carried out since October last year. We will have to thank our pakar perunding mata pelajaran for having prepared the sets of questions for writing and speaking for us. We are waiting for JPN to send the JSU before we can select the questions and form the sets. Trial SPM will begin roughly in mid-year October, but the PPMP have a bigger task ahead of them. We'll need to prepare sets of questions for reading and listening as well. So PPMP will soon be called for a meeting. The rest of you, please be prepared to carry out speaking exam for trial SPM as soon as school reopen.
Yeah, I think Puan Suryani is having internet problem. So teachers, before you leave, I would like to take pictures. So maybe you can turn on your camera so that we can see all of you. Okay, one, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for your participation.
Thank
See you
you.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the good
Thank you,
discussion.
Madam Atika. Thank you, Madam Atika. Thank you, Azhar. Thank you,
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Teacher Tika.
Thank you, Atika. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Atika. Thank you, Azhar. Thank you, Zarif.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarjana.
Okay, bye.